It is a great honor and a privilege to introduce Joseph Helmreich. Living in America, but you're here in Israel. We're here in Ramot in this beautiful home, and you're here for a simcha of a wedding, your family, your dear family. But Joseph, it's such a pleasure to meet you, and you were on the Kindertransport. So it would be wonderful if you could tell us a little bit about your family, where you came from, where you were born.
I was born in Cologne, Germany, and I was a small child. I think I was 8 or 9 years old when Kristallnacht happened. I went through it, and I was in November 38, I think, and there was a lot of agitation all the time. The Nazis, it was terrible to go on the street. They used to call you Jew, 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 and it was very, very unpleasant. And then that night we heard a big screaming, on our street and so on and so forth. It's only when the bomb word brüllen, that's the German word, that's exactly what it was. They were screaming, the Nazis outside. And then I started banging on the door and screaming to open up. We lived on the second floor. So we went down on the first floor with the neighbors on the first floor. The owners were living on the first floor, and they threatened to break open the door to the building. And at that time they had steel bar. All the house had steel bars behind the door, so they shouldn't be broken in. Or in Germany, that was quite usual. And they screamed so much, and they were going to break the door, and they were banging and screaming. And finally, he went there. The owner went and opened the door, take off that iron bar, and they swarmed in. Hundreds, I don't know how many, but all this. Were screaming all the time, and threatening, and then we all went down to the first floor, sitting there where the owners were, sitting in the kitchen, they closed the door, and my mother said to us, go and say Vino Malkeinu. We should say Vino Malkeinu, the children. It was myself and my brother and my two sisters were there, and my mother, Sharon, and we said Vino Malkeinu, and then they broke in, and they came in, and then it was somebody from across the street, a neighbor from across the street who was not Jewish. He stood in front of the door, and they said, you can't come in there, and they didn't come in too, because we were scared like anything. Then they went into the house, and they went through all the apartments and all the doors, and broke everything. We heard everything smashing down and crashing down, glass breaking, and tremendous noise. That went on for about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, and then all of a sudden, it started to stop, and we went out, and we came out, and everything was broken and smashed, and the apartment, we couldn't even live anymore. They took crowbars and they threw over the furniture. You can imagine what happened. It was lying there broken, even the sofas, I know they bashed into holes into the sofa, into the furniture to break it. And we couldn't stay there anymore. And my father, he was still deported at that time to Poland. And so my mother, we couldn't live there, so we went to somebody. My mother sent us to somebody on the outskirts of Cologne, whom they knew, and we all went there over to the apartment there. It was about an hour, half an hour outside Cologne, and we stayed there for a few nights, a few days, And my mother, she tried to get us out of Germany. She finally, some others, she goes, they decided we should go to Antwerp. We had relations in Antwerp, Belgium. And she took us, we all went to a train station and we went on the trip to Belgium, and of course we could imagine at the border, and my mother there showed they wouldn't let her out. She had to stay in Germany, and then we were crying terribly. My mother showed too. Then finally they went through the border into Antwerp, and there that was in Aachen, Germany. And we went to Amsterdam, to Antwerp, and in Antwerp we stayed with some relatives we had in Antwerp. We stayed there for a few months.
Was your mother with you?
No, my mother, she could not leave Germany, no. She could not.
So who went? It was you, and you had a sister and a brother?
My brother and two sisters, yeah. We were alone all the time. And there we were in Antwerp a few months. As a matter of fact, we went to school even there. And the name of the school was Tachkamona, I think, as far as I remember.
Joseph, can I just ask you,
Yeah.
how old were you at this time? Were you around 9 years old?
I think 8.
And your brother and your sisters, were they older than you or younger?
My sisters were older than me. My brother was about a year.
Well, teenagers.
Yeah, younger than me a little bit.
And can I just ask, when you were living in Cologne, were you part of the Orthodox community, part of the Kehillah?
Oh yes, we were part of the Jewish community. Kaladas it was called. And we were, when we were in school, Maria was the Jewish elementary school, and Yavne was the high school, because I was in Maria elementary school there.
And can I just ask, and what did your father do and your parents?
He was in business, he had a business, men's clothing, I think, store, business.
And were there many generations in Cologne, your grandparents?
No, my grandparents from Poland. No.
Did you have other family in Cologne as well?
Yeah, we had an uncle. My father's brother was living there, and another uncle Leo. 2 brothers were living in Cologne.
And
one was married, one was not married yet.
And you had a good life growing up as in Cologne before.
Except for the Nazis, I mean, it was terrible. I mean, you couldn't go anywhere before they threatened you and called you Jew.
When did it start? In 1933, when Hitler came to power?
And that I don't know exactly whether it started before already, I'm not sure, but when Hitler came to power it was worse, so I don't know that.
And were you afraid to walk on the streets?
We were cautious, yeah. Sure. Where we went.
Did you have a yarmulke on?
No, you couldn't. Mom would lynch you. I had a cap on, You couldn't go to Germany. Nobody went with a yarmulke in Germany. You couldn't.
It must have been very hard to say goodbye to your mother on the train.
It was terrible. It was just terrible. Terrible. Crying. And my mother lives, she was crying too, of course. And whether she'd see us again, and because it happened for 10 years she didn't see us.
For 10 years?
Yeah, something like that, yes. Then she went to Auschwitz. She went to Auschwitz, and finally she was liberated in Auschwitz, and she survived Auschwitz.
And who did you stay with in Antwerp?
I had an uncle there, Leo, my father's brother, who was first living in Germany. Yeah, he was married to somebody in Antwerp. We were living with that family. And that was a few months we were living there. And then it was decided we should go to Holland, an uncle in Amsterdam, uncle and aunt in Amsterdam. Isla they were called. And we went to Amsterdam.
Yeah, but you have to say why you left Antwerp.
And I'm not sure why we left Antwerp.
Because the Germans came into them and they ran away from Antwerp also.
That's when the Germans invaded Belgium as well.
It was afterwards.
But they made plans.
I mean, Temler, we were in Belgium, and then I don't know why, maybe there wasn't room there enough, I don't know. I think that's why we went to Holland, or he wanted us to come there, so we all went to Amsterdam.
Did you have family in Amsterdam?
Yes, uncle and aunt, sure, Isla, yeah. Sure, that's where we went to, those people. And then finally, after a while, there was also a question whether they had room, I believe. We came we went to the Jewish refugee home in Amsterdam. The Burgerweeshuis as it was called. That was the name of it. It was originally Weeshuis means
Orphanage.
orphanage. It was used to be a Jewish orphanage, but then we took over and sent us there. So we went there, we stayed there, and then in May 1940, 40, in May when the Germans invaded Holland and Belgium, and then one night, you know, after just about a few days after they invaded it, and I still remember when the war started and everything was desolate and was up the streets. You wouldn't find a person on the streets anymore. No more trams. Nothing was no cars. Nothing was scary. It was all because everybody had fled or somehow. The Dutch himself couldn't move. And finally there was a lady called, we were in that hostel, you know, altogether 2 years, or 2.5 years, 2 to 3 years. And that's when the Germans invaded Holland and Belgium. And then there was a Dutch woman called Weissmuller, and she had connections. She used to come to us. We were in the hostel every day almost, talking to the children. And she took some love into the children. I mean, she was incredible. She had connections. She was an aristocratic family. She had connections with the Dutch Queen and so on and so forth. And she arranged, now the Germans were coming there, you know, the Germans were already started the invasion. They took us, we went on a bus and they took us to all the children. She arranged it to, can you imagine when nobody was allowed to be on the streets anymore because the Germans they already practically had surrendered. And
she wasn't Jewish.
She was not Jewish, no, of course not. And we took the bus to Eemuyden, that's the port in Holland.
And you were with your siblings?
We were all together, all of us.
No, Joe.
Except for one sister who was still...
Both sisters were not there.
What?
You were only with both?
Yeah, only with my brother, yeah.
Only with your brother?
Yeah, only my brother.
Where were your sisters?
There was,
Back in Germany.
One was in Holland, but she was not in the hostel, and one was in Belgium. I stayed with my other relatives and was separated. So it was only at that time, it was only in the hostel, was only my brother and myself. And when we came to Eemuyden, it was dusk, they traveled all day. And again, there was no traffic whatsoever on the street, not a thing, because we were not allowed to use the roads anymore. But she had arranged it, and they had made an exception. And we came to Eemuyden, and there was the dusk, and I still remember one little small anti-aircraft gun was standing at the Dutch on the quays there outside, and we went into there was a ship standing there called Bodegraven. That was the name of the boat. An 8,000-ton freighter was standing there, and all of us went on that boat, and lying on the deck. It was getting dark, and all of a sudden we heard a noise, and there was sort of a German bomber came and started machine gunning us. It was the Heinkel with the shot in the front to us, and the glass enclosure in the front. The nose was glass, not glass, but glass. You could see through. You could see through. You could see. Remember, still see the machine gun lying behind the gun, and it was flying so low, and he fired. And at that time, there was a British motor torpedo boat had come to Helmreich to help the Dutch one torpedo boat, and he fired back at them, and then that he got them out of the way, but he hit only the machine gun. Don't forget, hundreds of people, also the Dutch Jews came, were on the boat, were lying on the deck, on top of the deck, while the machine gun. But he didn't hit anybody. He hit the top of the boat, and the rest was a mamish and that he just hit he fired incorrectly, you know. And we were on that boat for 5 days, going to England. The boat was going to, again, the boat was not, that's the reason why they fired it, was because the Dutch were not allowed to move anybody away from Holland. They weren't allowed to do that. So that's why the Germans went after us. And after 5 days we came to, and on the boat was, there was no food, there was only some sort of biscuits which they had, and nothing on there for 5 days. And after 5 days, we came to.
What date was it that you left from Holland? Do you know roughly?
Yeah, it was the day the Dutch surrendered. That was May the 9th or 10th when they surrendered. That was the date we left Holland. They already actually technically had surrendered already.
This is in 1940?
Yeah, sure. May 1940, yeah. I think it was 10th of May. And,
so you really left at the last moment?
Yeah,
literally at the last moment?
Of course. It was the only people that...
Tell them all the people that were standing there wanted to get on the boat. There were adults standing there.
A lot of Jewish people, Dutch Jews found out about it, and some others tried to get on the boat.
And they couldn't get on?
No.
Some of them got there, yeah, but not all of them. Some got on the boat too. So all the last minute.
And you were with your brother?
And my brother, we came to England, Liverpool. First of all, we had to stand outside for 2 days or 3 days. The British, I think, didn't let us in or something. I don't know what happened. But we were standing outside the port for a day or two. Didn't permit us to get in. Then finally we got into Liverpool, we got into the port. And there we, all the children went to a place called Wigan, which was a small village. We stayed there. We stayed in a schoolhouse, where we slept on the floor, and then it was empty. And we stayed there a few days, and then the hostel all went from Wigan to Manchester. The hostel was then in Manchester. Let's move to Manchester, in England, and we stayed there for a couple of years.
And did you ever see Rabbi Schoenfeld, Solomon Schoenfeld?
No, we had nothing to do with that. It was in England. Schoenfeld was in England.
He was in London.
He was in London?
Yeah, in London, yeah.
But
we didn't know, we were children, we didn't know anything.
And did you stay, was this Jewish organizations, did they help you?
We were in the hostel. The whole the children were in one group, we were all together.
And was it a Jewish hostel?
Yeah, sure. Moved from Amsterdam. All these children were in that hostel. They went in the Bucharest. We went together to England.
And in England, when you went to Liverpool?
Liverpool, we just stayed there for a few days, and then we went to Manchester.
And in Manchester, where did you stay?
Well, the whole hostel went together. The whole group went together in a house. We had one house. There was one house was for boys and one house was for girls, and I think it was 2 houses. We stayed there. That's where we stayed.
And did the Kehillah, were they involved?
They were involved a little bit. I don't know how much they were involved. That's a very interesting question. As a matter of fact, we used to go. We lived there near Spanish-Portuguese shul. That's when we went on Shabbos. All the children went there on Shabbos always.
And were any of the children adopted by any of the British families, or?
No. By British family, no.
You all stayed together as a group?
Pardon?
You stayed together as a group?
Yeah, sure, all together. Was how many children? I think about 100 boys.
And what school did you go to? In Manchester?
In Manchester, went to a local school.
Not a Jewish school?
No.
But did you receive Jewish education?
One day on Sunday, a Jewish teacher came and gave us some to learn with us a little bit.
And you had kosher food in the hostel?
Yes, it was kosher. Yeah.
Tell them about your bar mitzvah.
Oh, there was bar mitzvah there. Well, nothing. Nothing. I had bar mitzvah in the Spanish-Portuguese shul. I remember Pasha's Nach, we got 3 psukim they gave me to learn.
Your Pasha was Pashat Nach?
Yes.
And you only had... And you only had your brother with you?
Yes.
At this time, were you in communication with your mother or with your sisters?
Nobody.
There were no letters coming, or...
You can't the word war.
You didn't know what had happened to your mother or your father or your sisters?
Nothing.
Well, tell them about your father. Tell the story about your father.
No, your father was already arrested in Germany.
And what happened to him?
And they sent him to Buchenwald, and then they killed him there.
So first he was in. First they sent him to Poland.
First he was. I remember when they came and arrested, Gestapo arrested him 3 before. And
because he was Polish, not German.
That's after they had this assassination there in Paris. They took all the Polish Jews and they sent them back to Poland. And I remember the Gestapo came and arrested, I still remember when they arrested my father. So it was terrible.
And you never saw him again?
No, never saw him again. And then when the Germans invaded Poland in
1939, in September the 5th.
Again, those Jews, when they finally my father he came back to Germany. But then when they invaded Poland, they arrested him again and they took him to Buchenwald.
And he died in Buchenwald?
Yeah, he was killed there.
He was killed. Can I ask, do you know what happened to the shul in Cologne? On Kristallnacht, did they destroy the shul in Cologne?
Just the inside, but they didn't burn it down because there was in the house. Didn't want to burn the German houses, but they smashed everything up. And that I heard afterwards. I mean.
And does the shul still?
I knew about that.
Does the shul still exist in Cologne?
Today?
Today.
Yeah, yes, but not the building itself. No, the congregation exists, the Jewish congregation exists. But that building, no, they smashed everything up.
And Joseph, can I just ask, when you were when you went to the shul in Manchester, the Spanish-Portuguese shul,
Yeah.
did you mix with the local other Jewish boys in Manchester?
No.
Or did you have friends from the local
No,
boys?
there was one family that invited us over sometimes, yeah.
Only one family?
As far as I remember, yeah.
And you didn't have friends from the other Jewish children from
No, we
the...
had no contact with them whatsoever. No. We were not separate. We were not with...
And which part of Manchester did you stay in?
South Manchester, Wilson, South Manchester. In South Manchester.
Was it a Jewish area at that time?
No, not Jewish area, but the Jews living there, no. No, there was no such thing there. There was no Jewish area. I remember the Spanish Portuguese shoe, the big shoe.
And must have been a big help having your brother with you, that you weren't alone.
Yeah, I was sort of his guardian. He listened to me all the time. I was really in charge there.
Joe, tell Dr. Glassman the story of your father when your mother tried to get him out of Buchenwald.
Oh yeah, I can tell you that story very much. My mother, because all the time she wasn't, I found out that story only later after the war. And she was left in Germany. And then my father, yeah, my father and my mother, and my father was already in Buchenwald. And so my mother, she got a call from the Gestapo. She'd come down to the Gestapo, and that night she'd come down. So she said, I can't because we have a curfew, can't go out. No, you've got to come out, you've got to come out. So she went there, and she thought, she had tried to get papers that you can get out of Buchenwald to go to South America and nothing. So she said, she told me, so she came and she said, the Gestapo was sitting there, and she said, is my man frei? She asked, yeah, is he released? Nein, ihr Mann ist tot. That's what I told her. That was the story. That she found out that he was killed in Buchenwald.
And then she got...
Yeah, the maid, she came with ashes and she said, this is your husband's ashes. So you got
in a package, they send a package that this is your husband.
Yeah. And then there was just still a Jewish congregation there, then they made a riot. I found that out afterwards, only after the Holocaust. And they buried him in the Betzeuler, what was the name of the name Betzeuler in Cologne. They made a tomb there, so Mateva is still today, so Mateva is still there. There was a store there, I didn't hear nothing, didn't hear a word anymore from I only know that found this out 10 years after the war. I didn't know the story. But maybe that's the story.
And how long were you in Manchester?
In Manchester, I thought it was a few years. And father had in Gateshead, a great aunt. She invited us. We took a train there, and we stayed there a few days. And after a while, we went there and walked around. I saw the Jewish shiva. There was a shiva there, and I saw it. And then the bosses tried to get me in. And I was just my mitzvah, 13, 14 years old. How old was there? 14, 15 years old. they persuaded me to stay there, and I stayed there, and I went to Shoe in Gateshead. That's how I got to Gateshead.
That's how you got to Gateshead. And your brother, was he with you?
He was with his family in Manchester, because in Manchester we had friends there, and my brother went there, and I went there, stayed there a few times over Shabbos. But my brother stayed in Manchester, and I went to Gateshead. And after a while, I went to school there in Manchester. And then after a while, after a few years, he came over to join me in Gateshead, but it was all the time before that he was in school there.
So you were in Gateshead during the war?
Yes, 5 years, yeah, sure.
And how many
43 to
Bochum?
48.
How many Bochum were there in Gateshead?
Not many, I think there were only about 100 at the time, and now today there are a few thousand there. Because most of them were refugees. These were maybe 10 altogether, maybe less even were from England itself, London, Manchester. The rest were all refugees who had been living in England. All the Bochum were most of them not English. No.
And who were your Rabbonim in Gateshead?
What my Rebbe was Reb Lapjan, who was my Rebbe in Gateshead, yeah.
And when you came during the war,
Yeah.
Were they very good to you? Did they help you? Were they in Gateshead? The Rabbonim and the Kehillah, were they very inviting? Were they?
Well, when I was in yeshiva, I only had my uncle and aunt were there, great uncle, great aunt were there. No, we were all separate. We were all Shabbos once in a while we were invited by this family, one by this family.
But you were happy?
We had nobody, yeah.
Were you happy in the yeshiva?
Yeah, sure. Well, it was a great yeshiva, I mean, it was incredible.
And do you remember any other Rabbonim?
Dinsky was a yeshiva. And there was a Schwab, Moshe Schwab was a Menahel. And there was the Mashgiach, I forgot his name, was there. No. And basically, Leib Lapin was my rabbi.
Well, that's good. And then, can I ask, when the war ended?
Rav Dessler was there.
Rav Dessler, sure.
Rav Dessler was there. The Koiler was just a block away, and every Friday afternoon. We went over with the speaking. Rav Dessler spoke with the made of the Shia. We all went over there.
What a good. What a tremendous honor to have had such Gedolim.
Yeah, sure. As a matter of fact, when I finally moved to America, we took a train from Newcastle, Newcastle to London first, and I was overnight in a sleepover, it's called, you know. And Dessler, he was in the same compartment. I was down, he was on the bottom, and I was on the top on the,
like one of the banks.
Yeah, it was a small room, a small compartment, and he was staying down, and I was standing up, and I was sleeping upstairs. And there's the second on a bunk, yellow bunk bed. And with him, yeah, same train, same compartment. Yeah, same compartment.
And when the war ended, did you start receiving information about your sisters or your mother?
I only found out after the war. When the war ended, in 45, so I got a message all of a sudden through the Red Cross. My mother and sister are in Theresienstadt. We got a message. That's why I found out they were alive. So of course I tried to get in touch, and then when the DP camp, they went to the DP camp. And then I could communicate by letter with us. And finally, My mother was tried to go to America because we had relatives in America. She was in a DP camp and finally she got permission.
Can I ask, how long was your mother in Theresienstadt?
I would say maybe a year or two.
In Theresienstadt?
In Theresienstadt, I don't
No.
know. In Deggendorf she was. Deggendorf was a DP camp, Deggendorf.
But before,
She was first telling that she was in Lodge for years with your sister.
Oh, huge. Oh, my mother, I found out afterwards. She was
so what did you find? Where was your mother during the war and your
in
sisters?
Cologne. She was a resident. She went to Lodge. In the ghetto, they all sent all the Jews into the Lodge ghetto.
With the two sisters.
With two sisters. Yeah, one sister was with my mother all the time. The other sister who was left in Belgium. But the mother went to the Germans and went to Belgium. And the mother decided she should join her in Cologne because the Germans were there and there. I mean, it was not it was all the
And she
same.
returned back to Cologne.
Yeah, that one sister, yeah. She was with my mother all the time.
And the other one came from Holland, also came back.
They went to
Came back from Holland to Germany.
Germany.
And she joined your mother. Your mother was together with her two daughters,
Right.
with your sisters?
Yes, she was Germany all the time.
And they were in Lodge, in the ghetto?
Then they all went to
For
Lodge.
years.
They all went to Lodge, yeah. They were 2.5 years, I think, in Lodge.
Tell how your mother went to the Nazis and said, I ran a business in Germany, I can work for you. And then she was able to work in the office for the Nazis in Lodge.
She went to work. I don't know exactly what happened there. She was working with
And your mother said that on Friday afternoon, the whoever she worked for said, it's time for you to go home at 4 in the afternoon.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, I do.
Sure, it's
And,
amazing.
and the girls were working in factories that were manufacturing uniforms and they did the embroidery
Yeah,
of
yes.
the stars or
In
whatever.
Lodge, they were.
In Lodge.
They
They
had to
were there for
work
2.5
in
years.
And then what, they had to leave?
They went to Auschwitz.
They were sent into Auschwitz.
All over, you're right. From Lodge, when after they closed down Lodge, they sent to Auschwitz. The marches, you know, the death marches and so forth. They ended up in Auschwitz. And
Like Esther.
my mother, and my two sisters. Then in Auschwitz, my sister was killed in Auschwitz.
His
And
older
she
sister.
did
Your older
It was
sister.
beautiful.
She was killed in Auschwitz.
Yeah.
Oy, yeah, yeah.
Younger sister. But my mother, Lesha, and my sister, she survived Auschwitz.
And did they send them then to Theresienstadt?
They won the
Yeah,
death
after
march.
They won the death march.
then to Theresienstadt, yeah. From Auschwitz to Theresienstadt. And then they were liberated by the Theresienstadt, I think, the Russians or something.
No.
The,
From there they went on the death march.
and from there they were in a DP camp after Theresienstadt?
Yes. Theresienstadt, they were liberated. I think the Russians and yeah. And they went to Deggendorf, she wasn't there very long. And then she tried finally, she went to America, and then when she went there, found out she went to America, we decided to join her. That's how.
She managed to get to America.
Yes,
And did you have family in America?
yes, her family in America.
Who of your family were in America?
Uncle,
In
father's brother in New York.
your father's brother.
Yeah. He had a business in New York, yeah.
And then you managed to. Did you go with your brother to America?
Yeah, we went together. Then we decided to go.
Can I ask, what year was it that you went to America?
49, I think. Was that correct?
45.
Was it straight after the war?
No, 45 was straight out. It took a while till we went there. No, that wasn't 48. End of 48. End of 48. I went to America.
And
Then
when
we
you
joined our mother.
when you first saw your mother and your sister, did they meet you at the port? Where did you see your mother?
We came by boat from in the name of the boat, Aquitania was the name of the boat, a huge 5 with 5 funnels, you know, all these old, it was used as a tube transport. And we went that boat for 5 from Liverpool, not Liverpool, Southampton left. And the freight, it was a passenger boat, but it was a troop transport. It used to be troop transport. We were on the boat went to Halifax, Nova Scotia. And it took 5 days, 5 or 6 days. And then from Halifax we took a train to Montreal. And from Montreal we took a train to New York. And there, I still remember we came to the station, Pennsylvania Station, I think it was. And there was an escalator. My mother, she was standing on top of the escalator. We came up, and that's when we saw my mother.
It must have been the most emotional moment.
Yeah, of course, you can imagine.
And your sister was with your mother?
My sister was, she was with my mother, yeah.
And can I just ask, Joseph, when you first heard that your mother had survived,
Yes.
it must have also been a very emotional for you to know that your mother and your sister had survived.
Well, of course, because we couldn't even get in touch with them. No, there was no communication except by letter.
And you couldn't go to the DP camp from England?
I was in
It was in England.
You were in England and there was...
Tell Dr. Glassman the story of when you arrived in Halifax on the boat on Shabbos.
What?
You arrived on
I can tell
Shabbos?
you a story. When we came to Halifax, they told all the people, was the dance and all the people going to the United States to come up on the top second floor, see the representative of the American government there. And we came up there, and it was Shabbos, and there was a big table, and everybody was sitting there, and I had to tell them who you were, and then they wanted us to sign the papers. So I said, I'm sorry, it's now Sabbath today, I can't sign papers. He says, well, if you don't sign papers, you can't come to America. So we went down again to our cabin, and then we stayed there all Shabbos, and on Motzei Shabbos, somebody came into Helmreich. I said, yes, okay. He said, so it's a well-dressed man. He said, I'm the consul, I'm the American consul. And I heard the story that you didn't want to sign because it's Sabbath. I says, you're the kind of people you want in America.
That's amazing. That is something incredible.
Yeah. And then, of course, we took the train to Montreal and went to New York or something.
And was it only you and your brother, or were there other groups with you as well?
Me and my brother, others too, we were together. I don't know, there were some other people too.
And how old were you at this time when you, you're still a teenager,
Yes. I was
46.
16, 15, 16, I don't know.
It's an amazing to have travelled transatlantic and then on a train by yourself with your brother at such a young age.
What I went through, it wasn't anything anymore.
And you stayed...
He was 20 already. Born in 26, and this was in 46. He was 20.
20, okay.
48.
And can I just ask, you stayed in New York with your mother?
Yeah. And I went to the Mir Yeshiva.
You went to the Mir Yeshiva in
New York. I joined them in the where they were Ashford Street, they're all from Shanghai. A whole group, they were all from Shanghai, and all young boys, and because none of us married, they couldn't get married.
And what year was this when you joined the Mir Yeshiva?
That was 48, in the end of 48, 49.
48, 49, yeah. That's when because they were only allowed to leave It took quite a while for
them to come
to America to get permission to come in.
I was one of the first outsiders who went in Shanghai who joined the Mir Yeshiva.
So
when I came there, all the Mirs were there.
So you were with all the Bochrim who were in Shanghai?
Yeah.
And do you remember the names of the Bochrim?
Some of them, yes. Malin was there, was one of them.
Malin?
Yeah, he was one of the great.
Rav Malin, wow.
At the time, yeah, she was still a young Bacher there.
And Zupnik, do you remember Moshe Zupnik?
I don't remember, no, I can't remember them all. I mean, it was about 250, 200 something.
And the Rosh Yeshiva?
Rosh Yeshiva was Kalmanovitz.
Kalmanovitz. Did you meet with Rabbi Kalmanovitz?
Yeah, sure.
He was an amazing person, Rabbi Kalmanovitz.
Yeah.
Sure. So you really you were together with the Bochrim from the Mir.
Benal was what was his name? What was his name again? Forgot. Also one of the Gedolim. What was his name?
He was Rav Valkin. I don't know if you... Rav Valkin.
It's possible, I don't remember, by name only, I don't remember exactly.
And the Amshanover Rebbe, did he ever come to the yeshiva?
I don't think so.
And how long did you stay in the Mirror?
A few years. And Pascal, wasn't it Pascal?
Okay, Pascal, yeah.
Huh?
Levenstein, from the Levenstein family.
Levenstein was a Menard at the time. Pascal, sure. In the Mir. Pascal Levenstein, right.
And do you have a kesher with the Mir here in Yerushalayim?
No. My children went there.
It's a big kesher. And then...
It's a kesher, believe me.
Sure, it's a very good kesher. And you made close friends with the Bochrim from Shanghai?
Oh, sure. Shimon Birnbaum, he was one of the regular guys. I remember I came to the Mir and I guess the first thing I started to talk and learn with somebody. It was like talking to a wall. I wouldn't answer. I was devastated. It's terrible. He didn't answer, like talking to the wall. So finally I got together with Shimon Birnbaum, a whole group of people, and said, look, the same thing happened to me when I came to the Mir. I remember him staying. He became the Rosh Yeshiva in Mir later in New York.
And Rav Solomon was there?
Who?
Isn't he Rav Solomon? He's now the Rosh Yeshiva in Lakewood. Solomon?
I don't think so.
He was a bocher there.
Oh,
No, there was a bocher in Gateshead. Rav Solomon. No, Solomon.
And how many years did you stay in the Mir?
2 years.
4 years. And those were good years. They were.
Yeah.
And did the Bochrim from Shanghai, did they tell you about what happened to them when they were in Shanghai and the whole miracle?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
It's one of the greatest miracles in Jewish history.
Yeah, I can imagine, sure.
Wow. And then you got married and you lived in, you built a family and you stayed in America.
Yeah.
Wow. So Yosef, I want to ask you, with everything that you've been through, and you've been through so much, what message do you give to your grandchildren and to the future generations?
Well, I don't make a speech to them, no.
But what advice do you impart to your family and the future generations?
It should become Torah, should be, that's a little bit. I'm Hashem now, they're all go here, go there, go there. All over the place.
And through all this time, when you were alone with your brother in Manchester and what you went through, you always kept your M&O? You always kept your M&O?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we were the only ones, my brother and me, were kippah, what we call yarmulke. We had a cap in the whole hostel, you know. Nobody, Muslim didn't come from a religious family.
It was only you and your brother in the hostel?
Yes, yes. But officially it was kosher because it was under the Manchester rabbinate, supervision. Shabbos wouldn't do anything with it.
And the other boys weren't from?
Pardon?
The other boys weren't from?
No, they didn't come from religious homes.
And you were never enticed to join that world? You always wanted to remain from?
Absolutely. The only ones who kept Shabbos were careful because Shabbos. One day they wanted us to work on the garden on Shabbos. They were refused and they threatened us and they hit us. Oh, it was all the time.
And what did your brother do when he came? Did he also join you in the mirror?
No, here, no.
He went to Yeshiva University.
He was in Yeshiva University. Wow.
He's a brilliant guy.
But you kept your imana all the years. You and your brother as well, all the years. Your mother must have been so proud that to have gone through everything and to have remained so strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
And your sister, you remained a close-knit family?
Sister got married here, yeah. Sister got married in New York.
And did your mother ever get remarried?
Yes, she got remarried. That's how she came here.
Wow. So Joseph, I just want to thank you. I'm just going to come in. So I cannot believe that you and your brother were the only ones in the whole group that remained from that.
Yes.
So Joseph, I must just tell you, this has been absolutely unbelievable hearing your story. What you went through and how you remained so strong and firm and you were such an incredible hero for you and your brother to have done what you did. And it's just unbelievable. And you to learn in Gateshead and then to learn in the Mirror in America, but to have gone through the whole war it's just amazing. So I want to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. I'm so grateful to you, and you should only have nachas, and you're here for a chasana. You should only have more simchot and admevesrim in just good health. And what I get from your story, your father must be so proud of you as well, and he is proud.
My father is I still remember my father always learning. He was a businessman, but at night he was always learning. I remember his shas, he had the old Vilna shas, a black Vilna shas in England all the time.
And you remember?
I remember that too, because and my mother she told me that it's very interesting. On Shabbos afternoon, so my father was learning. I'm saying, no. So why did you go and take a sleep on Shabbos? He said, it's a short side.
Wow. And can I just ask?
You know what that means?
Sure.
So he learned.
You learned?
He didn't sleep for Shabbos.
Have you ever been back to Cologne?
Yeah, because I went to Best Holland, Yes, I went there.
And the house that you once were, did you go revisit the home that you once lived in?
House, we had a house. No, that was newly built. It was completely destroyed, Cologne. Remember 1,000 bomber raid, so-called 1,000 bomber raid, the British attacked Cologne, leveled it. There's nothing left of the territory.
Well, you here, thank God, and you built a beautiful family, and you're here for a simcha. So you should just continue in only smachot and very good health and mevesrim in
And you from yours.
and all of Hashem's blessings, really.
Yeah.
Here we have a picture of Joe, you and your younger brother, Wolf. This was done in England.
Mm-hmm.
And Yosef, can I just ask you, you've been to Auschwitz, you went to visit?
Yes.
Was it very, very difficult to go?
You can imagine.
Yeah.
You know.
And you said Kaddish for your sister?
Yeah.
Wow.
With Auschwitz.
And have you ever gone back to Gateshead?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah. Visit them. Yeah.
And Manchester, did you go visit the hostel where you once stayed?
That didn't exist anymore.
Doesn't exist.
What?
The hostel in Manchester.
No, but we went to the orphanage in Holland.
And the orphanage in Holland, it still
Yes,
exists?
Yes, it's empty now, but the office there.
And can I ask, the Dutch lady that organized for you to go on the Kindertransport, was she made Chasidei or Moto Olam?
Oh yeah, she's on the where the stones are. What's it called? The trees.
The righteous, the lane of the righteous Gentiles.
Yeah.
And did you meet with her? Did you ever see her face to face?
Yes, when you were in the orphanage, of course.
There, yeah.
You talked.
No, but you did.
She used to come and bring
Used to come
candies.
almost daily. She used to come to.
So you remember her?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
So what an amazing... It's because of her that you and your brother were taken to England and survived.
Yeah, sure.
She
She
saved
saved a lot of
hundreds of people,
thousands of
thousands of
And her name?
Truce Weissmuller.
Oh, Truce.
She had no children.
Weissmuller's a Jewish name. It's
No, not the way she spelled it. No, she spelled it Weissmuller.
what a righteous lady.
No children.
And she was a friendly woman. She was a...
Very aristocratic woman. Dutch aristocracy. She was crime was unbelievable. She saved a lot of Jews. After.
And in all the years you were in England, you never came into touch with the Rabbi Solomon Schoenfeld?
No, I didn't even know about it. We were in a hostel. We didn't know about
I think if you would have been in London, you would have got to know. Because he was very instrumental in London.
Yeah.
My aunt was his secretary. I told you.
Yeah.
Here, I have something here. This is Mrs. Weissmuller. I don't know if you can see her.
Yeah. What an amazing lady. So I want to thank you so very much.
Our pleasure. Thank you for coming.